Hey guys, this is George Diamondyard Sports Cards coming at you with a very special podcast. I have two YouTube sports card legends joining me tonight, and we're going to take a deep dive into the 1980s. This is kind of a continuation of what we did on Bench Clear Media on Baseball Collector Mike's channel, going through the 50s, the 60s, and 70s. And tonight we're going to visit the 80s. So I have Mike, Baseball Collector, he's going to join us, and Joe Silver Jackify, two very, very influential and intelligent guys about the 80s and many other things. Hey, guys, what's up?
What's up?
So I'm wondering when the guys that are going to come in that are actually intelligent and knowledgeable and influential, where are those guys?
That was a heck of a lead-in. I don't know if I can match that energy.
I don't know. I don't know if I can live up to that, Joe. How about you?
Yeah.
We got high expectations.
Yeah. You definitely can.
Yeah, George is all right. He's going to be the one carrying this one.
Ah, right.
We're just here because of our good looks. Right, Joe?
Mm-hmm.
That's right. That's right.
So, guys, I'm pretty excited about this 80s broadcast. We've talked about it a couple weeks ago. We talked about it, and now we're here again. So I guess I'm going to start off with Joe. Just maybe, Joe, if you could give us kind of an insight into your knowledge, like how some of your memories of the 80s and kind of how things started for you in collecting in the 80s.
Oh man, yeah. That's how I started. I think my first ever big card was the 84 Topps Donnie Baseball, because I was a huge Don Mattingly fan, and one of my neighbors had the Don Mattingly rookie card, and I remember asking my parents for the Don Mattingly for Christmas, and I remember that was a big card back in the day. It was like that card was like $40 to have his rookie card, and that for me that was like 5 weeks of allowance money. So I remember I got the full 84 Topps set, and that got me hooked ever since then. And then you start with one card and you kind of build, and like I said, my neighbor collected, so we both had binders, and we trade growing up. But that's big, like, and just like everyone else, collected in the 80s, early 90s, then left the hobby for a while, and then came back to it probably like 7 or 8 years ago. So that's sort of my memory.
So it all kind of starts with Donnie Baseball.
Yeah. I was a huge, like, I was one of those fans that would live or die with like every at bat. With it got So it was a big deal when Mattingly finally made the playoffs. That was a big deal for me. I still love 80s cards to this day. It's like super nostalgic. And every time I get an opportunity to get like a nice, like a PSA 10 version of a card that, like that 84 Topps Mattingly, that card that I mentioned, I still have in my collection, but it's like totally beat up. And so a couple of years ago, I got like the 84 Topps Tiffany in a PSA 10, because I was like, I got to get like the perfect, most immaculate version of that card. Love the 80s. Gotta love the 80s. That's some of the best years of collecting.
Absolutely. Thanks for sharing that story, Mike. What about you? What began your 80s journey?
So started collecting in 81. So I collected throughout the 80s, and getting packs and opening them up and having multiple choices instead of just tops, right? You had Donruss and Fleer, later on Upper Deck and Score and all these different things. It was my childhood. Like literally my entire childhood was spent buying 80s cards. That's all I knew. And it was a great time. And like Joe said, cards you couldn't afford, you go to an old shop and there'd be all, cards that had dust on them from 1937 or whatever, but you couldn't afford that stuff. So you bought the new stuff, whatever was new. And that was the new stuff. And that was just fine by me. I didn't care. I just wanted cards, and I read the backs of them, and I studied players. And, I collected Darryl Strawberry early, and like that was my first player collection was Darryl Strawberry. And he started in 83. Remember his rookie card is XRC. Remember they used to call him XRCs. And 83 Tops Traded was a huge card. So many huge cards. Alvin Davis rookie card in 84, just all this stuff that you think back, those were big cards back then. And now but they're still popular. They're still, for guys like us at our age where we're now, we have some discretionary income. What do I want to buy? I want to buy memories. You gravitate right towards the 80s, which is going to be so much fun to talk about tonight. So thanks for having us, George.
Yeah, this is great.
I grabbed this. This is the Beckett from. This is the last Beckett from the 80s, 1989, December of 1989. I was flipping through this before we went live, and this brings back some crazy memories. When Jose Canseco was like one of the hottest cards to get back then.
Right.
Actually, it has Will Clark. Will Clark is the number one hottest card.
The natural.
And the coldest card was Pete Rose.
Well, that was right during his suspension.
It's the hottest cards are Will Clark, Kevin Mitchell, Bo Jackson, Jeremy Walton, and Ken Griffey Jr. number 5, behind Jeremy Walton.
Well, that's great because that was like pretty much like the player the 80s end on there, Ricky Henderson, one of the great ones. And I think Lou Rock mentioned 1980 Topps Ricky Henderson, last true rookie card. But yeah, that was kind of the first big card in the 80s that came out, and everybody was chasing after it. So let's talk about some sets. We on our podcast before, we were talking about our favorite sets. And so I guess I'm going to start with you, Mike. What would be your top set of the 80s? I know there's so many of them that are so cool, and there's other ones that maybe are not so cool, but what would you choose?
It was actually quite hard to pick between 3 or 4 different sets. Ironically, of all the decades that we've done, 80s is the most polarizing for me. There are some sets I truly love and some sets I really don't care about a whole lot. But my favorite set I picked, again, this was hard, 1982 Topps was my favorite set. So that would have been my second year of collecting, and probably when I got into it a little bit heavier. And I assume we're talking about Topps because are we including Donruss and Fleer in this discussion? Because it can get a little mixy or crazy.
Well, I would say you just, unlike our other podcast, I would say just talk about what you enjoy. So, I don't necessarily want to keep it to Topps. I know that opens a big door, and but we have a little bit of time here. So,
okay.
Go ahead,
so
Mike.
I'll tell you what, I think this may be a format we go with 80 Topps and then your favorite other set, maybe from any other brand, right? I would choose the 82 Topps set as my favorite. I love the hockey. I call them hockey sticks cards, so many great players still playing in 82. You got the Ripken rookie. If you bought the Topps Traded, you got 2 Ripken rookies, because you got his base and then his traded card, which is fantastic. So many just unbelievable cards in 82 Topps for me. I got a bunch of them. Like, here's the Ripken. Not like, oh, Joe, you don't have any cards. Oh, you must have not watched the format. 82 Topps also has, you got a base Seaver, and then you got the inaction, which are actually inactions. And they're great because they're the card number right behind the player. So you got the base Topps Seaver's card number 30, his inactions 31. You got team leaders cards, and just so much good stuff. Here's the Ryan on the Astros. You got it too.
There you go.
That's crazy.
Except yours is a Gem Mint 10, so mine is not.
It's a great card, no matter what.
You got Ozzy's last card with the Padres, because in the 82 Topps Traded, he's with the Cardinals. But you've got Brett and Schmidt and Rose, and there's just so many greats. Reggie Jackson, Dave Winfield. I can go on and on and on about all these great players in that set. Really, the only big rookies, the Ripken, but that's a good one to have. And so that's my favorite. If I had to choose a favorite set from outside of the Topps world, it would have to be either 84 Donruss or 89 Upper Deck. And to me, those were game changer sets. Those sets changed the game for everything. The 84 Donruss was really high quality, just beautiful set, simple. The 89 Upper Deck obviously changed the game with how they did cards, the card stock. It was just a whole new ball game with 89 Upper Deck. So to me, that's why those would be my favorite. That's a long answer, but that's my answer.
Well, that 82 top set, they had gone with that all-star banner for so long beginning in 75 and then all the way up to 81. And then they started the all-star cards back again in 82 after an absence. And so, you could get an extra George Brett, an extra Rod Carew, an extra, whoever you had as an all-star. So I thought that was pretty cool. I actually can remember opening rack packs of that back in the day. And I was just so excited to get a Rod Carew all-star card.
Yes.
Who's collecting that now? I don't know. Joe, what do you think of Mike's assessment and his choices of sets?
Yeah, maybe it's because I'm a little bit younger, but like for me, I didn't really start collecting for until 1986, 1987. So like those early 80s sets are not as close to me as maybe So for me, it's 86 through 89 are a little bit more nostalgic for me because that's what I remember collecting as a kid. I wrote down all the sets that I just to go through the list. 87 Fleer is one of my favorite sets with the Bo Jackson and the Mark McGuire. And 89 Topps Traded is one of my favorites. 89 Topps is kind of boring, but 89 Topps Traded, obviously, with the Griffey. 87, I put Topps Tiffany just because 87 Topps, like if you're looking at 87 Topps, just like the base set, it's a little bit boring. But if you bump it up a notch to the Tiffany cards, there's something really cool about having those cards. 89 Donruss is the set when I was growing up that I would buy so much 89 Donruss because it was cheap and there were so many great rated rookies in that set. Yeah, there you go. The Griffey, the Gary Sheffield, the Randy Johnson, the Craig Biggio. There were just so many awesome cards in that set. So that's for me one of my favorites. 86 Donruss, the rookies is one of my favorite sets. Like that set is just awesome with Bo Jackson and Will Clark and who else?
Canseco.
Barry Bonds.
Canseco's in that set.
Canseco, yeah. There's so many. It just goes on and on. 84 Fleer update with Clemens and Puckett and Gooden's in that too.
Not good.
Then you got 87 Donruss, 86 Topps Traded, 1986 Donruss. But I guess if my top three, if I were to go with it, and if you're saying just Topps, I think I actually got to go with 1980 Topps, despite all what I was just saying about the older cards being a little bit more close. 1980 Topps is just such an awesome set, and of course you got the Ricky Henderson from that set. But in terms of my favorite sets from the 80s, and Mike just mentioned it, the 1984 Donruss set, of course, as a Don Mattingly fan, that is the card from the 80s to me. There's nothing that's more iconic, that's more important to me. It's really what, 84 Topps Mattingly is what got me into the hobby a little bit, but the 84, chasing the 84 Donruss Mattingly, which was very hard to find, growing up. There you go. Finding the 84 Donruss, even at the store or at a hobby shop was not easy to find. Getting it in a pack was really difficult, because those packs are always a little bit more expensive. So I love the 84 Donruss set. I love the Joe Carter from that set as well. But if I have to give it, you guys came prepared. I love it. But if I had to go with one set, you got to go with the 1989 Upper Deck set, just because it changed the hobby. It changed the game, like Mike said. You got the fact that they went with Griffey as the first card in the set is so cool. And I don't know, there's something about that image of Griffey that's such a great iconic image. That card is just about as iconic as the 52 Topps Mickey Mantle. That's how important it is to the hobby. So I got to go with 89 Upper Deck. The fact that I don't know if you guys remember, but like those packs were $1 growing up, and that was like crazy to me. I was like, you got to pay $1 for a pack of Upper Deck. And I, at the time, of course, Griffey, when this set first came out, Griffey was not like that big of a card. It was just so cool to open like a premium product. And you could tell the quality of those cards was just on another level. And I remember just getting so excited about that. So I got to give it to the 89 Upper Deck set. I'm looking at I'll pull up the guide to see what they had. The Pat Sheridan, by the way, the Pat Sheridan was a $45 card. I guess the Pat Sheridan, I don't even know what it is.
Was it an error card?
What?
Was it an error card?
Yeah, it's an error card. $45. The Dale Murphy reverse negative was $125.
Yeah, Carlisle Rude was making a comment about that. The reverse negative, Dale Murphy, was a big deal, and he was on the Phillies, I think, right on that. It wasn't even like Braves Dale Murphy.
Yeah.
No, it was Braves Dale Murphy.
Was it Braves?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right.
Yep.
But Griffey was $10 here, but nowhere close to the Dale Murphy reverse negative at $140.
Would we go back and buy them all at,
Yep.
$10?
Yep.
Well, I can remember coming out of like 86, and I was in 8th grade, and I think that the Topps packs, they were somewhere in the neighborhood of 35 to 45 cents, and that was Fleer and Donruss as well.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, by the time that high school was closing to an end 4 years later, the Upper Deck cards were coming out, and they were $1, like you said. It's like that was a big deal because that would be 3 packs of the other kind of cards. But you're right; it changed the game. I mean, here's that card, the Nolan Ryan right there. That's in the guide. You were talking about this one, Mike. I remember a while ago.
I love his 89 Upper Deck, the high series. They had high series, and he's throwing the football on the Rangers.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fantastic card.
And the quality, you're right. It's the back is in color. It's not like a back, like you have on a Topps card where it's just this cardboard stock and it's blue or yellow, red or something like that. So I think I was talking to James Elite Hunters, and he said the same thing you did, Joe. And he was like, what a groundbreaking set. And it wasn't, Griffey's a big part of it, but I think the quality of the cards, is just far superior to what came before it.
No doubt.
So with that, Joe, would you say when you were talking early 80s, you said you thought the 1980 Topps was one of the better ones?
I don't know. There's just something the design of this card is just I don't know. If I look at if I'm just looking at purely the design, I don't know. There's something about the Topps set that I think it's just better looking than the other sets of Topps. I mean, looking at the Topps 80 through 89, I gotta get if I'm gonna pick any design, I'm gonna go with the 89 Topps design. I think. Especially how awesome is this Ricky Henderson rookie with the bright yellow jersey and the A's. I don't know, but I don't know. To me that's the best Topps design of the 80s.
Yeah, I think the All-Star banner is really cool on all. And again, I always talk about that, but just adds the flavor to it, and a little pennant at the bottom and the pennant at the top.
Yep.
And I mean, isn't that just one of the best Nolan Ryan cards? I just think it's a great card.
That's fantastic. I love that card. There it is.
Oh yeah, the old Ricky
being Ricky. Hard card to grade too. The Ricky Henderson's a hard card to grade.
It is, and I had a friend who collected them. He was his favorite player, and he had had a sheet, a nine card sheet in his binder, and it was all Ricky rookies. and they're always off center.
Wait. He has a sheet with all Ricky rookies?
This is when I was growing up. You get you get a sheet, and you just like I had a sheet of Ripken rookies, and you just got a sheet of Gooden rookies, and you're just buying packs and trying to get these cards. And I remember like most of those Ricky Hendersons, if not all of them, were off badly. Caru's first card on the Angels. Love that card.
All right, George, your turn.
I thought long and hard about this. I guess if I was thinking tops, I would say 83 tops. 83 tops to me was it looks better than the 63 top set that it is kind of designed after. And it has those critical rookies, and they're not future star cards. They kind of got away from the future stars in 83. And so guys had their own card. And so you have, obviously, Gwynn and Boggs, and then you've got tons of Hall of Famers like Bench and Rose and, soon to be Hall of Famers, Ricky Henderson, Reggie Jackson. I just thought that set was killer.
You had the cool super veteran cards.
Yeah, the super veteran cards. She's looking at the guys and they're younger. So for me, it just looked like an older kind of set. Maybe it's because it looks like 63. But I just thought it had like almost everything you could want. Lots of Hall of Famers. It had lots of rookies like Ryan Sandberg. That's just a beautiful card with the blues and the purples. It's a really neat card. And I would agree with you guys on the non-tops front. 84 Donruss was just kind of a groundbreaking set, at least for us. And it's the first time they had a rated rookie. Yeah. There were no rated rookies before that. Like that was the first time you saw it. And it was on, guys like Kevin McReynolds and Brad Kamensk, and Ron Darling was a rated rookie. And you thought that was a really cool thing to have. But yeah, the Mattingly rookie, for some reason, Mike, you can correct me if I'm wrong. There was the prevailing thought about 84 Donruss that it was just underproduced or something. I don't know if that's true. Do you know anything about that?
It was not. The perception was at the time there was. I want to hear what you guys think. The one negative I would say about 84 Donruss is I'm not a huge fan of the Diamond Kings design that year. After 82 and 83, which kind of looks similar. For some reason, the Diamond Kings from 84 just didn't do it for me.
You weren't going to go out and try to pick up a Ron Kittle Diamond King?
No. 83 American League Rookie of the Year, though.
Right? I think that was you're right. That was a weakness. The card stock on it was really flimsy too. Like real flimsy. You touch those cards, they're paper thin almost. So they're real kind of fragile.
Was it like I feel like 84 and 85 are both kind of that way.
Yeah,
I almost mentioned that with 85. Like I remember opening just recently. I opened up a pack of 85 Leaf, and it was like they were paper thin. And I thought like I don't know if that was just like the pack that I opened or.
No, that was true of Leaf and O-Pee-Chee in the 80s.
Okay.
They just used far less superior quality stock.
Okay. Was that just a Leaf thing then?
It was a Canada thing. They don't know how to make paper in Canada, apparently.
Gotcha. Yeah, I got one of those, like an 85 Leaf in a rookie explosion box. And I remember opening it and being like, oh, like they were in already like just out of the pack. They were just kind of damaged. It was kind of disappointing, but I was like, oh, I guess that's just how the 85 Leaf or Donruss is. But I didn't open up a lot of that stuff when I was younger.
The Carlisle Rude said that the Kellogg stuff in the 80s was fantastic. It was.
Yeah, I was going to start talking or ask you guys about oddball stuff. But I just want to go back real quick, Joe, to your comment about 85 Donruss. like I remember you were speculating on cards to buy, and you had a Dwight Gooden rookie, 85 Donruss and a 10, I think. And it was going for like a song a couple of years ago, not much.
Yeah.
But, you know, and it just kind of made me think is how big Dwight Gooden was. Like, you know, just kind of to talk about Dwight Gooden a little bit. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, well, in New York City, especially, I mean, around here, he was larger than life. Him and Darryl Strawberry were, you know, that's all anybody, all the kids that I went to elementary school with. That's all we would talk about is the '86 Mets. But yeah, I mean, Darryl and Doc were the assumption was that they were going to go on to win multiple championships with the Mets. And the fact that they didn't and the fact that they won championships with my Yankees makes it even crazier for Mets fans. But yeah, Darryl and Doc were huge. And actually, I'm a little surprised sometimes that they aren't more collectible, I guess. They were so big. Maybe it's just because I live in the New York bubble, but they were so, and they still are. Like they still are. You know, you see them all the time. You know, I think they just did a documentary on the '86 Mets. So I'm always a little surprised that Darryl and Doc don't get as much hobby love as, you know. Like I almost expect them to be at the same level of, like, you know, Bo Jackson's cards have really taken off. But I haven't really seen Darryl and Doc's cards go as crazy. And I know that they'll never make it into the Hall of Fame, but they had like a flash of a couple of years where they were better than any player in the game. And they played in New York. They won a couple of World Series in New York, the Mets and the Yankees. And I do think that they fly under the radar a little bit from a collecting perspective. So what do you guys think from, like, you know, outside of New York? Are they as big a deal outside of New York, or is this just a New York bubble kind of thing?
Well, I told you, like 85, 86, I started collecting Darryl Strawberry. This was a time way pre-eBay. So finding different cards, you had to get lucky and check card shops and all of that. And I collected him probably through 91, 92, when he went to the 92, he went to the Dodgers, or 91. I can't remember. I still collected him, but then I started collecting this new guy for the Rangers called Juan Gonzalez, who won a couple of home run titles at age, 21 or whatever he was. So, but I always loved Darryl Strawberry because I loved his swing. He wasn't a Ranger. He was just a player that I really enjoyed, and thought he was really good. And I thought this guy's going to be a Hall of Famer easy. He won the Rookie of the Year. Should have won an MVP award in '88, but he didn't. And then, don't do drugs, kids. That's the lesson there. Don't do drugs. But no, we got to talk about Bo Jackson. I mean, the three of us grew up watching Bo and the whole Bo nose thing. And I don't think people that weren't around then don't realize how gigantic of a superstar Bo Jackson was. And he could do things athletically that I've never seen a better athlete, a pure athlete, than Bo Jackson in my entire life. Best baseball player, Barry Bonds. Best athlete I've ever seen, Bo Jackson. And it's not even close.
Right. But those commercials too. I mean, he was the Bo nose commercials. Like he was, a marketing
juggernaut.
Yeah, juggernaut. Yeah. I mean, he was all over the television.
And this was pre-Jordan too. This all happened right before Jordan went nuts, as with all the Spike Lee stuff and everything. Bo laid that groundwork. You can market an athlete for Nike and for all these things, and Gatorade. I mean, I remember just all these commercials with Bo, and he laid that groundwork. Michael Jordan took it to a whole nother level, of course. But I mean, the people that didn't watch Bo, go watch the ESPN 30 for 30 on Bo Jackson, and you'll see what Bo could do. It was insane.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. There was a documentary about Bo Jackson. And it was kind of talking about him in this, like, he's the last of the kind of mythological kind of sports characters in the way, because people didn't actually see everything that he did. But you heard about it in stories like Dr. J and the ABA, and you'd hear stories because it wasn't broadcast like on ESPN because it's pre-ESPN. And how like his high school coach was saying something like the team went out to a retreat and Bo walked out into the lake, and they were all just hanging out. He walked into the lake and he was up to his waist in the lake, and he jumped up out of the lake and did a backflip in midair. That kind of just amazing athleticism. And I still remember when he ran up that wall, and you're just like, did I really see that? That it was unbelievable.
Yeah, that's still ingrained in everyone's memory from when I was a kid. And I remember just that was like if there was a god in my head, it would be some guy that could just catch the ball and then run up the wall. I can't even catch the ball, let alone run up the wall like that.
So what do you guys think is the Bo Jackson card?
That over his head.
Oh yeah, match.
For me, the Bo Jackson card is the 90 score football shoulder pads, bat on his shoulder, and he's got his arms over that. Bo won't sign that card, by the way, if you meet him at a show. But that, because I also had that as a poster in my room as a kid, that poster, and it became a sport. When I saw it as a baseball card, I was like, holy crap, this is awesome. If you were to say rookie, I would say is 86 Topps Traded is the rookie card to have. But
I love
the 86 Topps Traded Tiffany. But
yeah, Mike knows I love the 87 Topps Tiffany, the one with the future stars. Love that card. One of my favorite cards of him. And I love all of his cards. The 87 Donruss with the rated rookie. 87 Fleer is an awesome card. Like all those cards. 86 Topps Traded. Bo has some pretty awesome cards that you can collect.
Yeah.
I was looking for that card, actually. You just mentioned, Joe. I don't have the Tiffany, but I had the regular one. I think that was probably the best looking 87 Topps card. Like that wood grain design, but then it's got that bright future stars on it.
Yep.
I think that was just a great card. Really neat card. I'm just looking at some comments here. That Bo Jackson card you mentioned, Mike, also, it just kind of reminds me of like it's a mix of baseball and football. Like it's hard to just say, oh, I got like the 87 Topps Bo Jackson, but there's also the football rookie, those kinds of things.
Dion came a few years later. He was never Bo Jackson. He tried because he wasn't as good of a baseball player as Bo was. He was a really all-time great cornerback. Plus, Bo played running back, and I played Tecmo Bowl growing up, and I would just run Bo Jackson around the side for the Raiders, and I would score every time on Tecmo Bowl and couldn't stop it. So,
yeah, we would call it popcorn. They'd be trying to tackle Bo, and they'd pop off of him like popcorn. All these tacklers.
Yeah,
and he'd basically like 7-8 guys popping and he's running down for 80 yards. It was a pretty consistent thing when I was going to college playing against guys with Bo Jackson. So back to the cards. Are there any? What is the traded or update set that you think? Because that you think is an important update set, or maybe the best one of the 80s? Because that seems to be a product of the 80s. Not entirely, because you have those traded or update series with 74 Topps, 76 Topps. But with the traded or the update series, Joe, what would be one that you really gravitate toward?
Yeah, I mean, you gotta go with 86. 1986 was just loaded with one guy after the next. Barry Bonds, Bo Jackson, Will Clark. I know the Andres Galarraga. I mean, there's just so many great rookies. Who am I forgetting? Wally Joyner is in that. I wish I had that in front of me. There's just so many great rookies in that. Jose Canseco, I think you guys mentioned him earlier. He's in that. So I got to go with 86. Has so many great. I can't imagine anything being even close to that. Actually, Let me know if you guys think of something. But
Topps
I know
traded
that
sets
9 has Griffey, but
80. Topps traded sets started in 81, right? Becoming its own set. You had 81, then you had 82. You had Ripken, a great Ozzie Smith card, Reggie Jackson with the Angels. 83, you had the Topps traded set. But then in 84, not only do you have Topps, but you also have Fleer came out with it. I would say 84 Fleer to me is the most important because but what sucks about all of the traded sets is they were, you had to buy them at hobby shops. They were box set only. They weren't packs that you could go buy packs. You had to buy the whole set. And that was expensive for a kid like me to go spend. How much were they at the time? $20 maybe, $15? I can't remember.
Yeah, I think it was like $20 for the 84 Topps traded set, and the whole set was like $30.
Right.
I think they were trying to make extra money by doing this, but I think it created a good competition because when Fleer jumped in with their update, they jumped in big in 84 with the update set. And you're right, Mike. They started in 81, but they were almost like Fernando got his own card, right? Instead of being on the Future Stars card, and Tim Raines got his own card. But by the time 83 rolled around, they had gotten rid of the Future Stars, and then you got the Darryl Strawberry update, and that just blew me away. I'm like, wow, this is cool, along with other cards in that set and stuff. So it got away from being like a traded series and more into like, these are the rookie cards that you should be looking for.
But what I loved about 84 Fleer especially is there is no 84 Fleer update or Topps update Clemens. There's no 84 Topps update Kirby Puckett. So you say by 85, 86, all three companies are making their own traded sets with largely the same players, right? They've all got the same guys. And but 84 Fleer went, I don't know what the thought process was at the headquarters of Fleer, but hey, let's put this Clemens guy and this Kirby Puckett, guy in a set. I just thought that was intelligent. But you could also say that about Upper Deck in 89. Donruss had a Griffey base card, right? But that's it. Upper Deck and Donruss. There is no 89 Topps base card. You got to go to traded. 89 Fleer, you had a traded, right? So
you get the regular
base 89.
Regular one too.
You did have a base 89 Fleer.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. But how did Topps miss the boat on that one? Who knows?
Yeah, I think that this is kind of, the 80s are a good example of how Topps really started the competition came in and Topps just did not adjust in a lot of ways. And you can see it in like the 88 Topps set, the 89 Topps set. You can kind of see it just slipping away, and then Upper Deck comes in and blows them away, along with the other, issues, Topps or Donruss and Fleer and stuff.
Yeah, 84 Fleer has Marty Barrett, Phil Bradley, Clemens, Ron Darling, Alvin Davis, John Franco, Dwight Gooden, Mark Gubaza. It has Jimmy Key, Mark Langston. Let's see, Kirby Puckett, Jose Rijo, Brett Saberhagen, and that's pretty much it. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good list of guys.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I've been trying to get my hands on one of the Pucketts or the Clemens for a while, and they just keep going up and up, and they're tough cards. And I don't even remember seeing 84 Fleer at the card shop update set when I was a kid. They had Topps. We were going after the Gooden. There you go, Mike. Awesome.
How about let's just do the trifecta. You got Gooden.
Nice.
And then why not have a Kirby Puckett?
Puckett.
It's a good set.
So let's take a detour here. Great cards, Mike. Let's take a detour. What would be your least favorite set of the 80s? Joe?
Least favorite set. All right. So I thought about this long and hard. This is a difficult question. So a couple of sets. The 88. So it really comes down to, I think, 89 Bowman I didn't like, as a lot of people didn't like because of the size of it. But you still got, the Griffey rookie, a couple of good cards in that. Then it really comes down to 88 score and 89 score or 88 tops. I know a lot of people don't like 88 Donruss, but I feel like 88 Donruss, at least it has Roberto Alomar and Mark Grace. If you open up like a box of 88 score, I think I got to go with 88 score. I think 88 score is just like, I mean, I don't know about you guys. Let me give you why I think 88 score might be the worst set of all time, actually, because tops, like at the time it was like Tops, Donruss, and Fleer, right? And I don't know about you guys, but when Score came out, like I was excited. I was like, oh, a new product. I was like really excited about Score. But then you get it and it's like in this red box, this ugly red box. And then you open it and, it's got that weird wrapper. It's like not in like a wax. And then you open it and then like the borders around it or just don't match the team colors. The borders make absolutely no sense. Like Ozzie Smith has got a purple background, for example. There's nothing in it. Like if you were to open a box of 88 score, like what would be the point? Like I don't even know why you would even what would you be chasing in 88 score? I like the only thing I could think of is there's Greg Jeffries, which is kind of cool. Greg Jeffries was like a big deal, right? Like growing up. So there's a little bit of nostalgia there. And there's Tom Glavine. That is it.
Kevin Moss. Moss.
What? What?
Kevin Moss. Remember him?
Kevin Moss isn't an 88 score.
What was he? What was his rookie?
He was 1990. But it's a 660 card set of nothing. Nothing. There's no point to open. Like, if you were to if I gave you a box of 88 score, would you even bother opening it? Like, I mean, what would be like?
Yeah, what the chase cards are not there. There's nothing, to go after.
88 tops. 88 tops is almost just as bad. I don't know if you guys have any 88 tops, like just lying around your house.
I have a cello case in my basement of 88 tops. I bought it off a guy for $60 shipped, and I'm just like, it's just taking up space. It's got Glavine's rookie, but man, it's just there's nothing in it. There's nothing in it.
For me, I don't know about sorry if I'm going on about this, but for me, part of the fun of collecting sometimes is you open up some packs. You put them in a box, you put them away, and then, maybe you come back to it 5 years later and maybe you find a diamond in the rough. But there's if you have a box of 88 tops, there's no point in going back to that box and opening it. So anyway, 88, it's either 88 score or 88 tops, but I got to go with 88 score, I think, is maybe the worst set of all time.
Joe, in 88 tops, though, you do have Jay Baller. I mean, for the chase card. Mike, what do you think?
I think 88 overall is the worst year of sports cards ever. 88 tops is atrocious. Score is horrible. Donruss is a dumpster fire. Fleer is okay. I actually kind of like the design of 88 Fleer. If I had to pick the best design from 88, it would be the Fleer, easily. But the reality, when I was a kid, 88, I was 15, and Sam's was becoming a big deal. We would go to Sam's, and there would be pallets and pallets of Topps cards. And on another pallet, there'd be Score. And on another pallet, Fleer. And you could just buy all the boxes you want to. They were $12 or something, at the time. And I opened so much of that. I had literally, when I moved houses 15 years ago or so, I had 3 or 4 or 5,000 count boxes of 88 tops that I literally threw away because I didn't want to move them from one house to the other. I had so much. I still have 2 5,000 count boxes of it. So it was There was so much. I bought so much of the worst year ever. Like if you could say, "Oh, Mike, you invested a lot in 2011 tops. That was very smart." No, 88, like the worst year of sports cards in history.
And I think
opened
that
100 boxes.
that is like the word, the idea of junk wax. I mean, you really had to have experienced it to know what it really is. Like you said, pallets of cards at Costco or Price Club, whatever you want to call it at that time, or Sam's. They were all over the place. And for me, the worst set that I had was 1988 tops or 1986 tops. 1986 tops to me, I mean, there's a lot of Hall of Famers in it, but it's super unimaginative. And it's like the other companies were producing stuff that was like exciting. And then Topps had like, you were searching for the Ozzie Guillen rookie. Like there's no Canseco. There's no Joyner. You're searching for the who was it? The Cecil Fielder rookie. There is just nothing. And you had all this excitement about this rookie class of 86, like you mentioned, Joe. But all these other companies were doing so much with all these different sets. Fleer and Donruss were producing tons of sets with little sets at Woolworth, Revco, and they had like Canseco's in it and Joiners in them. And all these rookies, even Pete Incaviglia. And I told my buddy I was going to say this guy's name, Billy Joe Robideau. But you had all these guys who were like going to make the hobby big and in 86. But the top set just seems to leave most of them, if not all of them, out. And it's just really boring to me.
Yep.
No, Eloy, to answer your question, no, I did not light them on fire. I just threw them away. But I probably would have gotten more use out of them lighting them on fire. But 88's just it's atrocious. But then thank God we had Upper Deck the next year, right? It went, whoa, we better start doing something better because right now it's terrible. What's your least favorite set? You said 86 tops, George?
Yeah, I know Vince, New York Yankees fan 7 was saying the Vince Coleman rookie. And that was cool. I mean, Vince Coleman was like, he's going to break Ricky Henderson's record. But the 80s were full of these guys that just like, they were going to be this, they were going to be that. Somebody made a comment about Eric Davis being the next Willie Mays, or, that's kind of the hype was amazing. To experience that, when we were young and kind of see it, and you kind of see it through. And, later on you're finding out, well, Mattingly and Strawberry and Gooden are not Hall of Famers.
Well, isn't that the whole, experience is a wonderful teacher. We've all lived through the Alvin Davises of the world and the Matt Noakeses of the world and the Brian Taylors, you name it. I can name thousands and thousands of guys who were supposed to be the next big thing that turned into used car salesmen. And now everybody's doing it again for all these players in all the sports now, basketball, football, baseball. Mm-hmm. And you go, hey, cool your jets, man. Hold on. Tell me in a decade if he's going to be good. These people that chase and pay all this outrageous money for these rookie cards of these guys that have done nothing yet. No offense to Jason Dominguez for Joe, but last I checked, he hasn't even had a major league at bat, and people are paying thousands of dollars for some sapphire chrome. This is actually a dig on Vince. He bought a couple. He had a sapphire chrome Jason Dominguez. Not that it's bad to buy these guys, but spending all this money, even hundreds of dollars, maybe not even thousands of dollars, hundreds of dollars, to me just seems completely asinine and stupid. If it's $1, fine. But this big money for these guys that we know 95% of them are going to turn into, again, used car salesmen. We've lived it, is my point. We've been there, done that, got the T-shirt. I should have a T-shirt made that says, I have 10,000 Kevin Moss rookie cards or whatever, and they're worth as much as this T-shirt, that kind of thing. So that's
one thing I took away, from the 80s, just going back through these cards. And I went through back, not only what I have that's graded, but I was going back through the childhood collection and who I pulled out as like, these are prospects. It's a Joe Hesketh Future Stars card. It's like, what do you think? I got like 7 of them in a row, So you're just going through this and you're learning, just like you said, Mike. And, prospecting is a real fun, one of the most fun parts of the hobby, but you understand that, there's a lot more Floyd Yeomans. I think Scott said Floyd Yeomans than there are Mike Trouts or star guys. So let's talk heading down the stretch here, but let's talk about favorite oddball or insert set from the 80s you can remember, because it was full of all this stuff. I mean, everywhere you went. I mean, I felt like when I went to the Walgreens, there was not only Fleer or Donruss, but there were these little boxes of like Baseball's Best or whatever they were. They were just trying to sell us so much stuff. Mike, what do you think?
You'd have to ask me first. God, there were so many of those little box sets that I used to buy. One that I loved, and I don't know why I loved it so much, but in '85, Donruss came out with a highlights set. Do y'all remember that? And I loved '85 Donruss, and I remember seeing the highlights set. Like, oh, what's this all about? And they had the Hall of Fame inductees. They had, different accomplishments and milestones hit during the '85 season. So it was like, and it was all current year stuff. It wasn't, you had to wait till next year to get these cards. It was at the end of the year it came out with that set. They did that in '85 and '86. I remember the '86 one was awesome. It had some Canseco cards in it. And anyway, just '87, they had it also. It was that ugly blue border of '87. Remember that? It was like a turquoise blue color. But there were a couple of Mark McGwire cards in it, which made it really neat to chase. And I just thought that was neat. I love the Kellogg's. I love the Squirt cards and the Coca-Cola. Like Nolan Ryan had a Coca-Cola card, from the Astros. Just there were so many. Burger King had cards. Like they were everywhere. So, but I'd have to go with the highlights. Just as I'm thinking off the top of my head, you guys will probably have better answers, and I'll agree with you. But
well, I know what you're talking about with all that stuff. I mean, the highlights cards, I wanted everything I could get my hands on if it was Don Mattingly. I really did. In '85, he won the MVP. Henderson went there, and they just exploded. And Henderson had like 135 runs scored. Mattingly had like 140 or something RBIs. I mean, he had like 3-4 cards in that set. So I know that set very well, frankly. Joe, what were you thinking?
Yeah, so I mentioned it before. '86 Donruss, the Rookies is one of my favorite sets because of all the players in that. I always like Sports Flicks for some reason. I always thought those were kind of, I was always surprised that they didn't get more love. I thought they were kind of cool cards. One of my least favorite of those insert sets are those Topps Big cards. I don't know. It was one of those things that you either love them or hate them. But similar to what I was saying with '89 Bowman, they're just I never knew what to do with them. They were kind of cool, but I never knew what to put them in, and they weren't valuable enough to buy holders for. So I have a bunch of the '87 through '89 Topps Big. I forget when they made those.
'88. It started in '88.
In '88, yeah.
My wife says all the time, Mike, it's too big. I don't know what to do with it. She says that to me all the time. But somebody mentioned this, and the Drake's cards were awesome. Because they were printed by Topps, so they have a Topps back,
Oh, that's cool.
And so this is a Rod. I had to show the Rod Carew for George, of course.
Nice. Well, Mark from Kentucky is talking about the '87 KB Toys Young Superstars set. So here's a Kirby. But there were so many of these just all over. '86. Baseball's Best was the first place you could get a Wally Joyner rookie, and it was just exploding, right?
And they had sluggers and pitchers.
Yeah,
sluggers and hurlers or something. I can't remember what they called them.
I remember that was at a card show, and the star sticker was Canseco had a star sticker. It was '86, and I remember grown men opening packs and screaming, "Yeah, there's the '81 star stickers." Nice. Grown. I was like 13, and I'm watching these guys who are like 30, and it's the dealer and a couple guys. They open up and they get a star sticker of Canseco, and they just start yelling at everybody at the show, "We got a Canseco over here! We got a Canseco!" And I'm just like, I'm like 13. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I mean, it's just like, it was madness in a lot of ways. I mean, you have granola bar cards, Quaker Chewy granola bars, right? My favorite insert set, and 86, 87 Fleer. Joe, this is for you.
Oh, awesome.
These are great cards.
Yeah,
and it was like
cards.
the first inserts that you're like, these are kind of short prints, right?
Right.
You get like 5 a box if you were unlucky. This is 86 Fleer. Here's Doc. But you get like 5 if you were lucky, or 6 if you were lucky, 4 if you were unlucky. And I'd go look at all the cello packs and just try to see if there was one different colored card in there. And so I'd buy that cello pack. But they were all the best players. You know, they made one Fleer All-Star team. And you had, so I just, and Nate Tops 85401, he talks about the Fleer All-Star team rolling up there like Star Wars. I don't know. But anyway, that was one that I thought was pretty cool.
What about, don't forget the 80s also introduced us to golf cards, and we had, you know, Jack Nicklaus rookie. That's a Joe card right there. He'd love.
Yeah, I was looking at getting that at the National, but didn't find the one that I was looking for, I guess.
Yeah, you get the Tom Watson rookie in that set too.
That's true.
Or maybe 82.
Everybody's rookie, Lee Trevino, you name it, right? They're all there.
It's so funny because, like, you know, we were all collecting baseball cards, but like if we had collected just any other sport, we would have done really well for ourselves.
Yeah, right.
Because like I think about all the 1986 cards. Like if I had just collected basketball, you know, the Jordan cards I could have had, you know, we were talking about score. I forget if it's 88 or 89, but the Barry Sanders score rookie. Like what? I have all this score that like is worth absolutely nothing, and just like I just have piles of it in my closet. And like if I had just bought like some football cards, yeah, well, there you go.
You could have that card.
So much. I would like and like I have a buddy that like barely collected, but he was a basketball fan, and he has like, you know, 4 or 5 Jordan rookies. You know, he collected a little bit of basketball, and you know, so and here I am. That's all I did was collect, and you know, it just takes up room in my closet or whatever. So
yeah, some of this stuff wasn't around though. Like I remember opening packs of 86 Fleer basketball, but in 87 I was looking for it and I couldn't, at least in Phoenix, I couldn't find an 87 Fleer basketball, and I couldn't find any 88 Fleer basketball. There's quite a bit of 86 floating around, but I guess you're kind of also, and then they kept, you know, stuffing down these sets down our throats that were different. Somebody mentioned Classic. There's a Barry Larkin.
Oh, that's cool.
What would you guys say? Like Joe, George, start with Joe maybe. What would you say is a set that you think is like a mainstream set that you think is underrated for the decade?
So I don't think that there is at this point. Like I don't think that there's anything in particular that's underrated set wise. I think like it honestly, like if I were to do like another one of my investment videos, I would go after the non-mainstream sets. I was actually doing some research before this, and I looked at a couple of cards like the 87 Topps Toys R Us Barry Bonds. I was looking at 87 Topps All-Star Glossy. You can get that in a PSA 10 for $50. You can get the 86 Sport Flick Barry Bonds in a PSA 10 for $75. They have something called the Classic Travel for cheap. For Griffey, there's the 89 Classic for $140 and a PSA 10. There's something called Mother's Cookies for $130, and these are like buy it now prices. You could probably get it for even cheaper if you like really did your research. George, you mentioned a highlights card, like the Bo Jackson 86 Bo Jackson highlights in a PSA 10. You can get that for $70 right now on eBay. There's a 1985 Mark McGuire Chong Modesto in a PSA 10 for $50. You can get that for $50. 1985 McGuire Chong Modesto for $50.
Yeah, that's his minor league card from
Okay.
Modesto, California. Yeah, when
Yeah,
he's on the
like I think that there's like, I mean, if we're talking about, what I think is undervalued right now in terms of the 80s cards, I would go after the non-mainstream stuff, because I feel like with the what we saw over the last year or two is a lot of these 80s cards went up, and I think that they right now they're at about the value that they should be. But these non-mainstream cards are really interesting to me, and so I would personally. And the cool thing about those cards is they're, in some cases, they're very low pop. So if that's where the direction of collecting is going in terms of, I'm sure you guys have seen it. It seems to be like, as collectors have been, we've got all these new collectors now, and they've all become more educated. They seem to be going after low pop type cards, and they're going away from like the mainstream cards. So I think the opportunity right now might be to go after like low pop, like the Toys R Us, like all that stuff, George, that you were showing before, high grade, of the legends of the 80s. And some of it, like I just mentioned, a couple of those got, $50, $70, $75, get for pretty cheap. And they're like rookie cards of low pop cards of like some of the greatest players of the 80s. So that's what I would, if I were to invest, that's what I would go after.
I would think. Go ahead, Mike.
No, I was going to say I totally agree with you, Joe. I think those are cards that haven't quite, seen the general popularity,
right?
Because people want the mainstream stuff, but at the same time, if I was to pick a regular, just normal set, kind of mainstream set that I think is underrated, just from a pure aesthetic beauty, lots of great players, 1981 tops. I just think it's very underrated I love the hats. I love the all-star banners. I love I don't know. And maybe that's bias because I started in 81, probably bias. Who am I kidding? But so many great cards in 81 tops that,
yeah, the cool thing about the early 80s is it's tough to get them in high grade, actually.
It really is, actually.
Like that Paul Molitor is probably worth a little bit of, like it's, and they're kind of cool to get them in. It's hard to get a pack of 1980, 1981 tops and, pull a good, that Ricky Henderson's a really cool card. Was that the Frozen and Carbonite card?
Something like that.
Frozen Carbonite. I think, Joe, I think this kind of crosses into both the areas here, like you were talking about with Mike saying like 81 tops is I think it's really underrated. I think it's a beautiful set. There are no Fernando rookies and 10s. And if you want to mix that set with high grades, then you can create this rarity. Like if you can find 10s of Dave Parker, Reggie Jackson, all-time Hall of Famers or soon-to-be Hall of Famers, I think those are really good investments. 80 tops, I'd say the same thing with. I know here Vince was talking about New York Yankees fan 7 about buying 70s basketball and 8s. It's like that kind of stuff. Yeah, this is early 80s stuff. If you can get 9s and 10s in that, I think you're golden. And by the way, I have a Sportflix Barry Bonds at PSA right now and a couple Mother's Cookies cards there too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. But
like, isn't it tough? It's tough to get 10s on 80s cards. I don't know. It's tough.
It is.
It is. I know 89 Donruss Griffey. That is a very hard card to get a 10 on. I've tried a couple of times now.
Well, Elite Co 3 has sent in hundreds. Nolan has sent in God knows how many 89 Donruss Griffies.
Has he?
And I think
no, I think he's probably gotten a couple, but very low gem rate. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, if you open wax, even now, like we'll open wax when we go to these shows and we'll just bring a box of wax with us and open it. And you see how the piss poor quality control of these. Like we open an 81 Donruss box and I got a Mark Fidrich that was 1/3 of the card. It was a triangle of like Mark Fidrich's like the bottom of his body. You don't like, it's just terrible quality control. So anyway, but yeah, those are really good points, both of you guys. I think 80 and 81 tops are pretty underrated in my mind, honestly.
Yeah, I think Mike, you mentioned it a little bit ago about the Sapphire, the Jason Dominguez. Like I opened up a box of it the other day, and I was like annoyed because like some certain cards were like a tiny bit off center. I was like, how could they not be perfectly centered every single card? So, but I did story, Mike. I hit a Jason Dominguez, which that card's gonna be worth so much one day.
Who's the sucker in that equation? Let's just think about that.
That's so funny. Well, hey guys, any final thoughts about any of your favorite cards or anything we haven't covered? Because I feel like we need to wrap this up, but it's been awesome, totally awesome.
Yeah, totally awesome. None. I mean, nothing for me. It's like the 80s. The 80s and the early 90s is like what, that's what was really nostalgic for me. Like that's like when I was really collecting. 90s, I think somebody was mentioning in the comments, like there's some pretty brutally ugly sets from the 90s and some awesome sets from the 90s too. But I was looking at 1990 and 91 Fleer, those like, and 90 Donruss. Those are almost made it to the 80s, but those are some of the ugliest sets like that I've ever seen. But 80s like led to a lot of really awesome innovation, as we all know, and but also mass produce to no other. So love the 80s, but unfortunately a lot of those cards are not very valuable. But I still love them. I still like going into some old shoe boxes and looking at the 80s cards. So a lot of good memories.
For sure.
Yeah.
Mike,
I have the same good memories. I mean, the 80s is when we cut our teeth as collectors, and learned about value, learned about rookies, learned about all this stuff that, hey, guess what? They still do today. It's all stuff that I think pre-80s collecting was more about building a set, or it wasn't about chasing cards. It wasn't about chasing rookies, and rookies became the predominant thing in the 80s thanks to the 84 Donruss Mattingly and other cards. So it changed the hobby. It was a decade that the hobby really transformed, and that was when I was cutting my teeth. So I learned and overspent on some and got good deals on others that turned out okay. But again, I don't think you can ever not think of the 80s and put a smile on your face. For me, I'll never think about 80s cards and not be happy. So
I can still taste the gum.
Yes. Or peel the
opening
sticker.
a whole box of 84 tops and having 36 sticks of gum there and trying to stuff as many in your mouth as you possibly could.
By the way, like why don't they do that anymore? How come they don't have gum? And
I don't know. I'd buy more packs if they did.
Yeah, I like why not? Actually, you should get a treat when you. I mean, you like tops can't like have some like lower end product. Maybe like there's a lot of cost to doing that. I don't know. I always thought that was cool though.
Yeah, it was great.
Hey,
well, guys, thanks a lot. I appreciate everybody watching. Really, Mike, Joe, you guys have been great. This has been a real trip down memory lane, and I hope it has for everybody watching. So, guys, thank you so much. Take care and collect what you love.
Bye, Pepino. He wants to be acknowledged. So
bye, Pepino, man. Peace.
See you guys. Keep collecting.
All right.
Peace.